Welcome back to Proper Madness. I am happy to have you back if you're a returning listener. If you're a new listener, my name is Sabi, and I have a very unique perspective on mental health. I believe wholeheartedly that we can turn anything that we have been through and alchemize it into bettering ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It helps you feel less alone, to know and understand that the way out is always through the eye of the storm. Grab a cup of tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee, and let's sit down and tune into ourselves so that we can learn to connect to other people. We never know the weight of our words and how they might help someone. Hello, welcome back to Proper Madness. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice very quickly that a lot of things are different. One, and the most obvious one, no, I don't have a black background behind me. There's no black walls, there's no moody lighting. It's a lot brighter in here. Two, I'm in an entirely different bedroom altogether. And three, my hair is naturally curly and I haven't straightened it. I've embraced the, God-given hair texture that I was born with. So let's just, we'll start there. Why am I in a different background and place, you might be wondering if you're watching this? Well, I've actually been staying at my dad's place for the last week and a half. I just needed a change of scenery. And I think sometimes if we're looking for an escape that is outside of ourselves, 90% of the time it's because we're trying to escape something within ourselves. And I didn't realize that I was trying to escape something within myself until I came to my dad's place and I was out of my normal environment. Where he lives is a lot more quiet. There's a lot more nature. The room that I stay in has a lot more natural light, and I have less distractions. I'm actually able to be completely present with myself and more grounded. And unfortunately and fortunately, when that happens, right, if you're trying to escape yourself or trying to run away from something inside of you that you might not be aware of, all these emotions, all these thoughts, all these fears, everything just kind of bubbles up to the surface for you to deal with. That has been something that has always happened to me anytime I stay here. And my poor father, he's such a wonderful person. He's always like, please come stay with me. Please come spend time with me. And it's not that I was avoiding him. I was mostly avoiding the environment that I knew I was going to be in. I think part of me was avoiding coming to stay here because I knew somehow, subconsciously, that whatever I've been avoiding unknowingly would come up to the surface. And when that happened, I was able to just face it head on and pull myself back into my body and back into my energy. I talk about that quite often, right? Of how to be in your body, how to be present in your body, how to pull your energy inwards. You can be doing that and not actually within yourself and not be aware of it. As much as I talk about slowing down, being present, being with yourself, there were moments that I didn't really realize where I was just moving really, 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 really fast and just trying to run towards something that I wanted in life instead of slowing down and being present in the moment and really understanding what my next steps are going to be. I'm speaking in a lot of generalities right now, and I'm going to get to the details. I don't know. When I'm here, I'm able to live a little bit more moment to moment. I've been thinking a lot about how to be within your own energy, how to embody it, and how to embrace it without trying so hard, I think if we're trying too hard to do something or to accomplish something, it's like trying to force something that you know is not going to happen. Who I am and how I'm showing up has shifted because I'm in an environment that allows me to be in my most authentic self and to slow down. There's no pretending. There's no trying to be someone I'm not. There's no trying to act a certain way because I'm surrounded by people who will reflect back to me anytime I am embodying habits, behaviors, or I don't know, anything else that is just not really in alignment with who I am. And in being in this environment and just pushing the reset button on myself, my brain, my life, my habits, everything, it's allowed me to come back into my own body instead of trying to escape myself. So many times, our environments, without us even realizing it, can subconsciously dictate the actions that we take, how we show up, and who we're trying to be. When I stay at my place, it's a very different environment, right? It's definitely a space that is more me, that is, decorated in ways that I have always wanted to like have my own space, which is part of, being an adult. But also when I'm there, I'm in a very different energy. I'm kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like I'm so aware and so spiritually open and kind of rushing without knowing it and realizing it. That for some reason, I was craving a vacation. I was craving being in nature. I was craving being in some sort of area where I could just reconnect with myself. Since I've been home, is sometimes the reset button isn't something that you need to do. It's an energy you need to embody. It's a conversation you need to have with yourself. It's showing up for yourself in the moments that you know you need to, even though it's difficult. The way that my family lives here is very structured and routine, but also very uplifting, very positive. There's more conversation and community and interaction with other people, whereas when I'm at home alone, I'm like cocooning myself, isolating myself, trying to replenish my energy as much as I can by being alone. And I realized very quickly that it's not because I need to be alone to replenish my energy. No, I need to be around the right people, the right environments to replenish my energy. I don't need to completely isolate. I don't need to shut off. I don't need to not speak to anyone for days on end. I don't need to completely shut myself out. No, I just need to be in a better environment that is conducive to who I am now and who I'm becoming. Because I have a lot of shifts in my life, which I'll get to, that I've been going through, and I have to be very careful with who I'm spending the most time with. It's become very clear to me very quickly, just in my day-to-day with how I'm just slowing down. Like, I'm staying with my dad, and he, a man. You would think that like men like to rush and chase and go and do and go. Yes, but I'm very fortunate that my father has some healthy masculine energy. He has his moments, as we all do. Where there was a time where like he asked me to do something, and a part of me just wanted to drop everything and do it. And he looked at me and he went, whoa, 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 whoa. He goes, you don't have to do it now. Take your time. Please do it today. You don't have to do it immediately. And that kind of woke me up to realizing that when I'm in my own space, my own environment, I am still rushing a little bit. I am outside of my body. I am kind of just doing things to do them sometimes to escape something within myself that I'm not aware of. So when I came here, all the things that I was trying to escape kind of came to the forefront. And as soon as my nervous system got grounded and recentered, which I always get the best sleep here. I just feel safe. My nervous system feels safe. I feel very grounded. I feel like I'm in my body. I don't feel like I'm outside of myself. I don't feel like I'm chasing. I don't feel like I'm, trying to accomplish everything and prove something to someone. I have my moments, obviously, in my space where that's not the case. But for some reason lately, that had been the case. And I think the closest people to me and my really close friends and family know why that is. But I was just craving some sort of, I just need to be in an environment where I felt safe and grounded so I could kind of so I could just recenter and reset myself, basically, because I have had so much going on in my life, in my personal life, where I need to show up in a more go-getter masculine role and a managerial role and getting things done and being sort of type A, that it exhausted me, so that as soon as I came here, for like the weekend that I first got here, I literally slept for 10 hours 2 days in a row. And it's almost like as soon as I got here, my nervous system recentered, and I was like, oh my God, okay, this is just maybe what I needed, is to be in this environment, to be in a healthier environment that's conducive for my growth, to be around people where I can connect with them. When I'm at home, like I'm in my room and then I go from one box to another box to another box. Here, I'm interacting with my family. I'm having conversations with them. And it's a very interesting thing. For a while, I started blaming the fact that, like, I didn't know how to communicate correctly or pick up on social cues correctly because maybe I'm severely neurodivergent and I don't know how to read people. That's not the case. It's just because I was isolating myself for so long, so often, that I forgot. It's like a muscle. Socializing is like a muscle. I forgot how to interact with people properly. I forgot how to pick up on social cues properly. I forgot all those things because I was isolating. It reminded me of the movie, the movie Castaway, right, with Tom Hanks, and how he literally had to take a volleyball and draw a person on it so that he wouldn't lose that part of himself of how to connect. That's what was happening to me, is I was spending so much time alone and in isolation that I was forgetting how to connect with people while still being in my own energy and not draining myself. But that's also who you spend time with and who you surround yourself with. I was told this at a very young age, and it didn't really stick with me until later in life, and I've done an episode on this before. But who you surround yourself with literally shapes who you become, how you show up, and how you act. So if you're not careful, if you're around someone who is constantly in a victim mentality mindset, that's going to rub off on you. If you're around someone who constantly blames other people for their problems, whether you know it or not, that will also rub off on you. If you're around people who have never been in any successful, healthy relationship in their life, any advice that they give you, any feedback that they give you, anything that they're embodying and that they're doing, consciously you might be like, okay, I don't want to be like this person. I maybe need to spend less time with them. Fine. Subconsciously, you're still absorbing some of that feedback from them in some way to then show up and have those beliefs and then start acting accordingly. And it's wild to me how much of that I wasn't fully aware of. Isolation is what was really doing me in. It really was. There's nothing wrong with spending time alone. There's nothing wrong with being independent. There's nothing wrong with being able to do things on your own. But eventually, when you get so used to being alone, being isolated, being independent, that's all you know, that's how you're going to start acting from. If you don't know what it's like to ask for help, you won't. If you don't know what it's like to go talk to a stranger and have a conversation with them and be, conversational, you're going to get anxiety and develop social anxiety because socializing is a muscle. And to overcome anything and to push through it, you have to push through it. If anyone who's listening that's been an athlete or that works out regularly, you know that your body adapts really quick to the same workout that you do all the time, right? If you don't change it up, if you don't up the intensity, if you don't do something different, you're going to stay at a plateau forever. It's the same with life. If you're in a plateau in your life and nothing's changing, it's because you're not changing and you're not challenging yourself. So if you're not changing and challenging yourself, you're just going to stay in the same place in your life for literally forever. But if you take a look at your environment, you take a look at who you're spending the most time with, you take a look at what you're consuming on the internet, in your life, your diet, everything that you consume becomes a part of you. And I don't think we fully understand subconsciously what that does to us. Consciously, yes. Subconsciously, no. And so I've made it a point to really figure out how to be in my own energy and not drain myself, not suck myself dry, by keeping an eye on what's draining me and what's filling me up. Keep an eye on how I'm showing up. Is it performative or is it embodied? I'm like moving my hand around like it's a very Indian thing that I'm doing right now. But I think and the other part of this is I've had this fear of being seen for a very long time. And in doing that, I was self-isolating because of my fear of being seen. So if I have a fear of being seen, I'm isolating myself, and then I go out and try to interact with people in the world. My driving force of how I connect with people and who I connect with is going to continuously perpetuate that same safety net that I've built within myself, because it's safer to not be seen. It's safer to not be heard. It's safer to not be understood or misunderstood. Instead of taking a risk and going out there and changing how I'm showing up and just allowing myself to be seen, allowing myself to be confident, allowing myself to be. And for much of my life, even in my career, I chose a career path for the last 11 years that allowed me to stay hidden, that allowed me to stay safe, that allowed me to hide behind a screen instead of be in front of it. And I've had such a big fear of being misunderstood and being judged and being criticized, and almost like I was hyper-analyzing everything that I was doing or not doing in my life, that I decided to just stay in an environment that I knew that I outgrew, that wouldn't keep challenging me. And so I made the decision very recently to no longer be a part of that and to start embodying my truth and to pursue my dreams and to be seen and to be heard and to just try. If you don't even try to be seen and heard by yourself, how do you expect the world to do that? How do you expect other people to be able to see you if you can't even see yourself? You're not willing to. If you're not willing to see the depths of yourself, no one will be able to understand you because you don't know how to convey yourself in a way that is to be understood. Everything in life is sales. Believe it or not. Every single thing. Everything is sales. Everything is marketing. Now, you don't have to hyper-analyze that and fixate on that and think about, oh my God, how am I coming across? How do I sell myself? No. But everything is perception, more or less. So how you perceive yourself is how other people will perceive you. If you work in any sort of corporate job or sales job or marketing or whatever, you know this, right? Customers are people, obviously, but if you're not willing to check your intentions before you interact with the customer, they will pick up on whatever hidden motive and agenda you might have that you're not communicating. Because people aren't as stupid as they look, right? When you're too nice to someone because you want them to like you, you want them to buy you, you want to market yourself as someone who's likable or outgoing or whatever, people know. People know when you're not in your authentic expression of truth. People know when you have some sort of ulterior motive. They may not know what it is, but they might pick up on something and they might be a little bit more hesitant. That's like with customers, right? If you're trying to be too salesy, they know and they're like, yeah, whatever, see you, bye. If you just try to connect with them authentically and pitch yourself that way, you're going to start closing things a little bit more quickly. that's what I would tell, my sales team the last 10 or 11 years when I was working in the tech field. And probably the most successful sales guys that we ever had, they were sharp, but they just tried to connect with the person first before telling them, hey, this is what I have to offer. Now, if you have a fear of being seen, a fear of being perceived, and a fear of being misunderstood, well, underlying, you're going to have that energy. So whoever you interact with, by default, is not going to know how the heck to understand you and how the heck to see you because you don't know how to do it yourself. Staying in your own energy, right? When you're in your own energy and you're within yourself and you're not absorbing other people's stuff, you're not absorbing other people's perceptions of you, their judgments, if they've made any or not made any, your thought process of what are people going to think of me if I do this? What are people going to think of me if I say this or I don't say this? When you drop that, you actually allow yourself to be seen. Because you're no longer trying to analyze how you're showing up, you're just showing up. You're no longer trying to criticize yourself and be hard on yourself, and you're just being you. And I understand that because, I've spent 90% of my life up until now, recently, 34 years old, of how do I get people to understand me? When really what was being mirrored back to me was, I just need to understand myself. I wanted so badly for people to understand me because I didn't understand me. So my energy wasn't in me. It was focused externally on, what is this person going to think? Oh my God, did I say the right thing? Why didn't this person text me back? But, and then it just spirals. That's not you being in your own energy. That's you being pulled away from yourself instead of coming home to yourself and just feeling what is coming up for you in those moments instead, right? So the best case is if you feel like you're being ignored or rejected, instead of focusing on why them, no, let's come back inside, right? Why do you feel rejected? What about this made you feel this way? Is that maybe not the right person to be around if they constantly make you feel that way? Or when you hang out with a certain person and you just feel super drained, yet for some reason you just keep spending more time with them. That's you abandoning yourself because you're so worried about what they're going to think of you if you say no, than honoring yourself and going, do I have the capacity to hold space for this person right now? Probably not. So do I need to say no to hanging out with them? Yes. So it's everything is within your own control. And how that's shifting my whole platform and how I'm showing up is it's with more intention. It's not rushed. I'm not going, you know what, I gotta put out content every day. No. Now it's more, I'm fully pursuing my dreams. I'm fully pursuing my own business. What that is, I will expand upon in the next episode. I'm very much a person that when I'm working on something in the background, I keep it very private until it's done. And that's a very important way to protect your own energy. When you start dating someone new, when you start a new business venture, when you're doing something that is a blessing in some way for you, you don't have to share it with everyone, That's an energy leak by itself, and that's kind of how you fall into the trap of how are people perceiving me. And that is a fear of being seen or a fear of embodying and holding on to that energy and, saving it instead of, sharing it with the world and overexpressing. I think some of the most successful people follow their success and their happiness and their joy and their relationships in silence, keep it private, and then once it's permanent and it's something that's been consistent in their life, then they share it. And that's something I have always done that I stopped doing because I had certain friends in my life that were, to be honest, abnormally nosy and didn't respect that of me. and just kept asking questions. And to me, I'm like, well, that's interesting. If people want to know so much about you, yet they give you no information about themselves, that is something to keep an eye on, you know? Those people are just keeping tabs on you. They don't actually care about what you have going on. My real friends, my true friends, the people that like I respect, that are really good people, when I say, hey, yeah, I'm working on something, I'm really excited about it, I'll tell you about it when I'm done, they respect it. They don't ask me more questions. They don't try to poke. They don't try to get more information. They go, oh, yeah, for sure. Like, let me know how I can support you, and I would love to hear all about it, when you're ready. When you're trying to prove something to people, you want to share your accomplishments with the world in a boastful way instead of sharing it from a place of gratitude. Showing up in ways that we think other people want us to be instead of ourselves. And the only way you really get to show up as you is if you actually get to know yourself and you actually start diving deep within the confines of your mind that you've been avoiding, and is trying to escape through other people or situations or people pleasing or being in environments that you really shouldn't be in, is when you have the conversations with yourself that are hard, that you should be having, but you don't. And for me, like, as we all know, writing's been a way for me to do that, and it wasn't until I really started getting honest with myself with, okay, why am I showing up this way? Why do I have a fear of being seen? Why do I have a fear of being rejected? And how are those correlated? And retraining my mind to be more resilient in those moments and go, you know what? I'm just going to show up, and whatever happens, happens. And when or if, I'm just going to show up. And if people like me, they like me. If they don't, they don't. And I think having that detachment from what do other people think of me? What does my environment think of me? What did I say the wrong thing? Whatever spiral that might be that you're having in being consumed by everything outside of yourself dictating who you are. You start becoming more focused with, who do I think I am? Do I like how I'm showing up? Do I like how I'm feeling when I'm around this person? Do I like how I feel when I'm in this environment? Do I like how I feel when I'm in this job? Do I like how I feel when I'm in this job? And slowly but surely, the more you start asking yourself questions and asking yourself why, the more you get down to that root cause, the more you'll start to realize that the way that you're showing up and who you are and what you're embodying and who you're embodying, especially if you don't like it, is because of a belief system that is not yours or that you created because of a situation that didn't go how you wanted it to go. So you started acting in a way that would keep you safe instead of acting in a way that's going to challenge you to grow and to become a better version of yourself that might be a little uncomfy but is very necessary for your growth. And I don't know, writing for me has always been a way that I've enjoyed getting all that stuff out. Journaling, I think, is one of the best tools that you can ever have and that you can ever do for yourself. And one day, as you know, I've been going to therapy, and my therapist has me like doing shadow work journal prompts. There was a moment in time where I didn't have like a session with her, and I just need to like sit down and really process some of the things that I had been through and why they had shaped me into being a version of myself that I didn't like, or acting in a way that I didn't like, or being in relationships I didn't like, friendships, relationships, same thing. And so I came up with these questions to just ask myself of getting to the root cause of how to come home to myself and how to really be in my own energy and enjoy it. And anytime I'm not in my own energy, how can I check myself and ask myself, again, the hard questions and have a conversation with myself to be like, okay, how am I showing up right now? And how do I need to change this? But I got to figure out why I'm doing this in the first place. And so I came up with some journal prompts that my own therapist, I sent them to her. She was impressed. She was like, oh my God, these are amazing. I'm going to use them. Like, oh, cool. When your own therapist is like, these are great, I feel like I should share this with the world, right? So I created something from it just to share with you guys. I think sometimes we just need someone to hold our hand a little bit and give us the tools that will benefit us and help us. So if you're interested in, getting those prompts, there's going to be a link in this episode, or you can go on my social media platform too. But a lot of people have been asking me, like, why am I acting like so different? How am I so grounded? I seem lighter. I seem more happy. I just seem like more present with myself. It's literally because I've been training myself that anytime I feel outside of me, to come back. And the only way I know to come back to myself is to connect with myself. And we all have different ways of doing that. But writing, for me, to be honest, has been the best. It's been something I really, really enjoy. So they're called A Return to Self journal prompts. You'll love them. They're very Sabi coded, very poetic in nature, and very deep and raw. So if you're willing to just get real with yourself, I just give a thumbs up to the camera. Go get those. But other than that, but I want you to know that if you're also in a season right now where you feel exposed because you're peeling your mask off and you're finally trying to show up as you, I like to call it feeling like a baby snail without a shell, right? Very exposed, very vulnerable. You're not alone. There are plenty of people who do this later on. You're not late. You're not behind. There's nothing wrong with you if you're doing this now. At least you're doing it, A lot of people just continue on in their lives pretending to be a version of themselves that they think they should be to be popular, to be liked, to be loved. You'll have more sustainable relationships with not only the people around you, but with yourself, if you start embodying who you really are instead of who you think you should be to protect yourself. So, with that said, thank you for tuning in today. If you feel like this episode would, help someone else, send it to them. Sometimes what we need to hear, other people need to hear too, even if they're not aware of it. And yeah, if you've been following me on social media, you've been noticing that my stuff is a lot more cinematic. There's a reason for that. I am changing as a creative, and I'm fully just pursuing what I want to do instead of trying to cater to what I think other people would want. So yeah, go follow me on the socials if you want to see all that cinematic fun stuff. And other than that, I will see you on the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, rate, whatever, post about this, please. That'd be great. Comment below if you've been feeling this too and any thoughts you had, So, yeah. Thank you for tuning in. I feel really awkward ending this right now. That's all I got for you. Or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or whatever streaming platform you happen to be listening to this on. I encourage you to follow, like, subscribe, and rate this so that it pushes it out to whoever else might need it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you ever want to chat more about anything that this podcast is about, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and good old TikTok. And be sure to stay tuned for my Tea Time with Sabi episodes.